Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the You Are Radically Loved Summit. And it is the final day. Today is the day, my friends. We have the sort of amalgamation of all the speakers today with this final chapter. And this is a conversation based on radically loved. This is the end of the road, shall we say. And I couldn't think of a better speaker to talk about what love is than Reverend Dr. Jacqui Lewis. She's been on the podcast before. She's the author of Fierce Love. And as I was going through all of the chapters and all of the speakers and friends and mentors that I've had on the Radically Loved podcast, Jacqui was the only person that I felt could do this chapter justice. Fuck, we're gonna have to edit this part out. Uh, Jacqui was the only person that I felt could do this chapter justice. So, without further ado, here is Reverend Dr. Jacqui Lewis.
Got it. Got
I,
it.
I know we
Got
still
it.
somebody still tells us that we're here. Welcome. I want to say welcome back. We're not doing the podcast, but you've been on the podcast before,
Yes.
and I in the intro just said that I there really is no other person that could do this chapter, this topic justice than the person who wrote about fierce love.
Hmm.
So welcome,
Thank you
Reverend
so
Doctor.
much, Rosie. I'm so proud of the work you're doing in the world.
My God, I'm
Your
embarrassed.
your book is going with me to Puerto Rico.
Oh yay! I'm
It's
so
between
excited.
Christmas and New Year's. You and
Yes.
me on the beach, my love. You and me on the
Yes.
beach. Yeah.
Well, so I'm like, here's the deal.
Yes.
This is there's nobody in the world like you, right? There's nobody else like you in the world. And everything you need for your journey is already present.
That is so true, my love. That is so true. That's true.
So you write about this. I mean,
Yeah.
this is what you preach. It's what you talk about. So mostly for the people that are watching this for the first time,
Yeah.
they maybe don't, they've not been introduced to the community yet. They don't maybe know my work. Maybe they don't know your work. Maybe they're just in a place where they're really trying to find that healing journey to self love.
Yeah.
What can you say about what radical love is?
Yeah, thank you so much, love. And thank you so much, Rosie, for just the straightforward, beautiful way you invite us on a journey to that discovery. Because I think it's everything. I think it's everything to know that we are radically loved, period. And decide who your lover is. I mean, is your lover your mate, your partner, your husband, wife, spouse? Is your lover your kids? Is your lover those girlfriends you went to college with, right? But I believe that there is a force in the universe that loves us. I would call it God, but I think people might call it source and they might call it just universe. But there is such love for all of us, exactly as we are. That is the begetting love, right? In my tradition, in the Christian tradition, there's this connection between the creation story in Genesis, where the myth says a spirit of God hovered, and then the spirit, like I think the spirit is hovering, maybe to some like Shaka Khan, I don't know, but the spirit is hovering, right?
Yeah.
And the spirit hovers, and then the spirit speaks and says, let there be light, let there be darkness, let there be a firmament between the heavens and the earth, let there be water and animals and people, and very good. The spirit says, very good. And then in the Gospel of John, in the Christian scriptures, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God with God. the word became flesh and lived among us. So love created us and then love became flesh. And lots of times we're like, oh, that means Jesus. That means Jesus. But or did all of the love become flesh? Are we all love made flesh?
Mm,
I think that's radical love. That you and I are skin and bones and sinew on love. And we get to put that in the world for each other and
yeah.
envelop each other in it. Yeah.
Oh, this is yeah, I yes.
Right?
I have
Love
nothing to
made
add to this.
flesh. Love made
Yeah.
flesh.
For I mean, I know so many people that have a hard time getting to that, right? When
Mhm.
they're going through a hard time or they have these obstacles that are maybe in the way of them seeing all of that beauty, all of that the access to that power, that uh, divine energy. What can you say to them? How do we get from this place now, knowing everything that we know, going through our path, going through our journey, but we still get those moments where we feel lost and we feel, okay, what I don't know what radical love is, or I don't know what that feeling is, or
Yeah.
how do I define that for how do I find that for myself if I've never experienced it?
I mean, that's just an excellent question. And you and I, as teachers, don't want to be acting like this is an automatic thing or everyone gets it and it's so quick and easy. And what's wrong with you? That's not true. America, the world is not a container, really, in which we are easily taught about how amazing and beautiful and stunning we are as beloved creatures. We're just not. So I think it starts with self, that if we just put purpose, I'm going to just be curious about this. Am I beloved? I'm just going to be curious about it. Pay attention to your story. When did you feel that thing? Do you remember? There's a picture of you at 3 running around naked, I don't know, in the swimming pool or in the bathtub. Look at that child, you. There's a picture of you at 5 with your Halloween costume on. I'm just making up some stuff now. You sit down with your mom or your dad or your grandmom or your TT and you say, "What was I like?" And you listen for your reckless abandon and your joyful, playful, badass self. And you just have to curate, right, Rosie? A kind of active remembering, meaning really I'm going to recall it, but also I'm going to remember myself. I'm going to organize myself around the principle that I was in touch with that, because you were. All of us were. Before we lost it, we got it. I got it. And then, the world kind of wrote it. So I think that there's a kind of a future search that goes to the past, a future search that goes to the past. Secondly, inside your community, what if you and your sister and your brother and a couple of other people thought, well, here's what's going to happen. I'm going to, in my coffee group, in my yoga group, all as a community say, we're going to be a mirror to each other and give each other affirmation for how radically loved we are. So, again, putting it in your tank, bringing it into consciousness, bringing it into conversation. And I think the third thing is to read your book, but to read your book, to read Fierce Love, to read See No Stranger, to read some bell hooks. There are books that will read some Marion Williamson, read some Cornell West, read some authors who you trust, who will push your mind in a direction so you can be open to see, yeah, love lives here.
Yes.
So look at the past, be affirmed in the present, and use the tools in the world to help you see yourself the way you and I think and pray people would see themselves.
Yes. Oh, thank you so much for articulating that so beautifully because it feels so practical and accessible that way. Uh, Especially when we are in a place if we're struggling it can be very daunting and everything
Yes.
can feel like a behemoth.
Yes.
You don't know where to place your thoughts and energy. I talk about radical love, and all these different mindfulness practices throughout the book, different
Yes.
exercises. Um, but as a practice, radically loved, being radically loving is all a practice. So
Yes.
how does that apply for you in your life? And when you teach about fierce love, what are the beginning steps of that? What does that look like in
Yeah.
everyday life?
I have two different kinds of practices, and both I write in my book. One is to really be intentional about excavating, exegeting, finding the meaning in our own story. Like I'm saying, be self-conscious, right? We are actually taught we're not supposed to navel gaze or don't be self. But I think there's such wisdom there, Rosie, to look into the stories of your life and see what's there. So this is about being honest. And I believe that if we are honest with ourselves about ourselves, we can love our superpowers and we can love our craziness. We can love our gifts and we can love our flaws because all of it is who we are. But I don't know that we can love what we don't know. I think we have to know it. So really pay attention to you. When do you lose your temper? How are you a peacemaker? What makes you laugh? What gives you pleasure? Pay attention to you. You are a text that has wisdom about you in it. So read it with intention is one. And I think the second thing, and I do that all the time, I'm interrogating my story. But when I was a younger woman and the whole kind of self love movement was coming up and about, I would laugh, no kidding, at say an affirmation. I was like, ha, 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 ha. But you know what? Say an affirmation. You're going to stand in the mirror every day a few times. You and I are going to put on some mascara. We're going to brush our teeth, floss our teeth. We're going to put lotion on at night, whatever we're going to do. That time when you're a mirror to you, to really have a mantra of, I'm so wonderfully made in the image of God, I would say. But one might say, I'm such a gift to the universe, exactly as I am. I'm designed to be me. And if you say it enough with gratitude, thank you for my quirks. I'm grateful for my stunning places. Oh my God, I'm grateful for my flaws. It becomes that what we say and what we pay attention to becomes true. So I'm no longer mocking affirmations. And I'm saying science shows us that we can rewire our thinking by the stories we tell. Leaders tell compelling stories that change the story, is what Howard Gardner says. So tell yourself a story every day that you are amazing and loved, and you'll begin to believe it. And then you'll live it and you can tell somebody else.
I'm like, sigh, long exhale. Yes. I have a question for you.
Mhm.
Uh, and this is like just a personal,
It's okay.
everybody's going to have this question. What do you do when you begin this path and let's say you're doing all the right things and you're doing the affirmations and this is a new path for you? What do you do if you have somebody in your life that's not supportive of this path?
Yeah, that is an excellent question. And, I'm a little older than you are, my love. And I think in times of my life, oh, yes, in times in my life, I have felt my job to convince that person to get on my page or whatever that would be, right? To yeah, to engage with them around their stuff. And ultimately, the only person in the world you can change, the only thing in any system you can change is you. So I would say to anyone listening, the energy you spend trying to convince someone, sell someone, cajole someone to be what you want them to be, how about instead spending it on you being what you want to be? And you changing will change the system. You changing will change the system. So I have backslides all the time. But in a recent encounter with someone I love who just was being a little cray cray, that theological word cray cray, they were being a
Mm-hmm.
little crazy. I just was like, I'm going to breathe through this and I'm going to just stay centered on my intention to be loving today. And I did, and it rewired the dynamic. And I'm not saying it made a permanent change. That's too ambitious. I'm saying the moment that I was in changed because I decided that I had agency about my um, radical love.
Mm.
And then that's enough. That's all I got. So if you backslide, if you get it wrong, if you screw it up, if you just feel like, oh my God, I was horrible today. So, okay. Love yourself enough to start over. Give yourself a fresh slate. Ask yourself, what did you learn from that? And then try again tomorrow. Because you have what C.S. Lewis would call an unbounded now, an unbounded now to be who you're supposed to be. Take your time.
Yeah. Oh, I love this. Yes. I want to say yes to all of that. And it feels extremely expansive to be in that space, to not feel like you are going to go into somebody else's negative frequency, right? You don't want to go into somebody else's cray. You want to be able to stay centered in that empowered anchoring within yourself. This is,
Right.
it's beautiful. I love it. And I always ask because I find I've been asked this question several times because all of these different ideas of resilience and honesty and grace and love, in my opinion, are an internal practice. We have to
Yes.
practice to be these different things. And
That's
so,
right. I think that's right, Rosie.
yeah, and I feel that I feel for people that don't have the external support in their lives, that
Right.
there's a little bit of extra courage that it takes to be able to do everything
Yep.
that you're saying.
No, that's right.
Um,
That's right. And, none of this, I mean, I think you write, you teach, you coach. We know that these are not like we don't need books about this if it's automatic, right? It's not.
right.
It's years of encountering the world as it is that robs us of the gifts you're talking about, robs us of compassion, robs us of gentleness and peace toward ourselves and others. So if it takes that long lifetimes for it to leave us, it certainly is going to take time for it to come. And I think if we could also be patient to say, like, that COVID got me totally out of shape, honey. I was like, why am I out of shape? But 13 pounds of like, why? And so it wasn't like, okay, day two, you're back to you, right? It took some time and some exercise and some consciousness and some water and some walking. And I did lose the 13 pounds, that I gained over COVID. But it takes time to grow the muscle of love. It takes time to grow radical love toward ourselves and the world. So like just get in it. Like just get in the river and learn how to swim in it. Just dive in and be gracious and spacious and be like, I'm just going to try. I have all the way until eternity to get this right. And then you can laugh at yourself when you get it wrong. God, I really yelled at that person. Oof, didn't want to, but I did, and just grace upon grace for you and the other, right? Because the other's on a journey and we can just do it together if we can just have some humor and some patience. I really believe that.
Yeah, no, I love what you're saying. Because you're right. If this was automatic, we wouldn't have
Where there would
all.
be no podcast. We would not be having this talk. All the beloved lovers will be like, oh, why are they talking? We have it straight. We don't need this.
Uh,
Right?
there was there's a handful of mindfulness quotes and yoga quotes that from texts that I've studied, and the common theme is always we practice because we forget.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's right. We practice because we forget. Some of us practice because we don't know. Like
Mm.
the first time I picked up a clarinet, I was like, this looks really lovely. What the heck is an embouchure? What? You're going to put your teeth on that? I still have the overbite from the clarinet, right? Like, what? How? Who knows? So you don't know even. And then you practice. So there's also the unknowing. Maybe we knew it and we forgot it.
Mm.
Maybe we didn't know it at all. And whichever one of those, let's say, theories of change works for
Yeah.
you, do that. Because the important thing is to move forward into the best love, the best fierce, radical love you can. Because the revolution of the world is depending on us, right, Rosie?
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to get there with hatred and bigotry and violence. We just have to do it better.
Yeah. Wow, that's it's so beautiful. And I am just so honored and privileged to know you and to have somebody like you to look up to and to be mentored by and to just see how this practice of love is being lived and taught in the world. So I want to say thank you first of
Thank
all
you, Rosie.
for just being here and doing what you do. And um, yeah, I feel like that was uh, exactly what we all needed to hear. So for the people that are watching this, where can they reach out to you? Where can they go more information about you?
I am at JacquiJLewis.com, my personal website, but I actually do more work at middlechurch.org, which is where I'm the senior minister. So just go there and see preaching and stuff. And, I wrote my sermon in a book called Fierce Love. And Rosie and I are partners in putting love in the world. And clearly it's time. There's lots of wonderful pieces. Valerie Kaur, Rabbi Michael Lerner, there's beautiful pieces about love in the world, including books by Bill Hooks, who we lost today. So
Yes.
Rosie and I are honored to be in Bell Hooks' legacy, if you will, to put some love in the world, and you are too. And just to say, if you're feeling like you follow Rosie and she mentors you, and I'm saying, I'm mentored by her as well, also watch your babies. Put put an infant in the arms of a toddler and watch that toddler love that infant. Kiss its face off, right? Before we learn to hate, we know how to love. Let's watch the little ones too.
Thank you
Thank you,
so
friend.
much.
I'm so proud of you. I can't wait to
Ah,
snuggle up with that book on the
it's the end. Everybody, thank you
beach.
so much. All of the links that Reverend Doc, I always want to say the whole thing, Reverend
Do
Dr.
it.
Jacqui Lewis.
Mhm.
I always
Reverend
want to
Jackie.
just say, I'm like, all the titles were earned, so we got to say them all.
Thank you.
Will be down below in the description. So be sure to, number one, please get Fierce Love. It's an incredible book, and it would be a beautiful companion to You Are Radically Loved and all the other works that Reverend Dr. Jacqui Lewis just mentioned. And yeah, I'll put all the links below. And I'm so grateful and thank you so much for doing this and for being here.
Rosie, thank you for having me. I'm so glad to know you, and I can't wait for us to get into some love trouble together. It's going to be
Ah,
great.
I love it. So there you have it, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for being a part of this really fun and exciting storytelling process of my book, You Are Radically Loved, A Healing Journey to Self-Love. And for those of you that want to get the book, you will have access to that probably somewhere below here, somewhere in the description. I also have a free gift for you. It's a companion for the book, and all you have to do is just fill your information in, your email address, and you will get the companion emailed to you. when you pre order the book. And there's also an option for those of you who want to practice with me at Wanderlust. I will also put the links to that below as well. And if you're interested in learning more or practicing with me, I do have a couple of trainings coming up this year. I have a retreat in Mexico coming up in May, and I have another one in Italy, fingers crossed, this fall. And then I will be doing a yoga nidra intensive training for those of you who want to really get into the realm of rest and you need some of that renourishment. Those of you that are yoga teachers, it is continuing education, so you can always do that as well if you're wanting to learn more about yoga nidra and how rest plays a key role into your self care and self love journey. Definitely join us. Thank you again so much. Thank you for all of your support. Those of you that have been supporting me throughout the years, this is how you're going to show your support. Pre order my book and love it. Like, love it. I put so much heart and energy into it. And I put so much heart and energy into it, and I just really hope that you guys enjoy this book. It is quite easily my life's work in there. There's so many things that didn't make it in, but I hope that throughout this process, you got a little bit more insight as to where I want to go and what I want to bring into the world. So, thank you all so much for spending some time with me. It's a time commitment, your time is valuable. And I'm just so grateful that you spent this time with me. Remember that you are radically loved and radically supported. I love you all.